Hey there, everybody. I hope you're having a good night. And it's me, David, and it's been a little while since I've uploaded some stuff, and just thought I would go live here on the infamously out of tune piano. And so I'm just gonna play some songs that I enjoy and have some fun. Mostly Southern gospel, like usual, but you never know what else. So I hope you like it. This first song has a lot of memories for me. My grandpa, growing up, used to play guitar while I sang for church, for specials. And, well, we didn't actually do this song, but he used to sing it back in the day. And this song just reminds me of him and just makes me think of those times. And so it's called He Brought Me Out of the Deep Miry Clay. All right, that's a really fun song. Hey, this is the creator of the channel here. Um, I just wanted to say that if you have a song that you want to hear me do, don't be shy about typing in the comments and giving me a song because music is a gift of life, and just everybody has a favorite song, songs that make them happy. I know that depression and anxiety are very real. I've struggled with those things myself, and sometimes music is the only thing that gets us through. And so if someone has a song that they really love, with all the power in me, if I know it, I would be happy to play it for you. So just let me know. I can see the comments. And by the way, if you guys have a favorite color too, I got a little remote right here, and I can change, make it any. I like blue the best, but I can do about any color. One of my favorites is where this red right here. Yeah, I love this. Okay. Um, you know the hardest song to play on the piano? I think this is the hardest song to play on the piano. Tell me what y'all think. It's so hard. Isn't that like the hardest song to play on the piano? And then you can do something like this with it. It's something I do sometimes. I kind of put it into like a bossa nova type of style or whatever you want to call it. It goes like this. How about Amazing Grace? Thank you. I really appreciate the compliments. That's awesome, and I bet you're a really good piano player too. I'll have to check out your channel. Sure. I'll show you one of the things that I was doing. Let me turn around the camera. Yeah, this piano here, you can see I got a key that needs to be replaced. It was like this when I got it, and I just haven't got her fixed yet. But what I was doing pretty much, I can't remember any theory stuff right now. I'm tired, but pretty much what you heard me do in Amazing Grace kind of goes around these notes right here. I don't know if that's like a blues scale, but pretty much I do stuff like. So you notice I don't really move around. Well, how do I say this for it to make sense? I don't go out of these notes. So C, E flat, F, and the so on. I'm sure you know all those. But so I just kind of play around with them like, or yeah, that's a little bit of what I was doing in there. Yeah. Yeah, give me any requests you guys got for sure. Um let's see. Has anybody ever heard of the Redback Hymnal? It's literally, well, it's more burgundy in color than it is red, but you can see it right here, this thing. If you on YouTube, I forget that I'm on YouTube. I'm used to doing Facebook stuff, but there's a lot of good videos of this. I'll Fly Away. Yeah, let's do it. What key should I play it in? I'll play it in any key you want. Give me a key. Challenge me here. Let's see what key you pick. I usually play it in B flat or A flat, but it doesn't matter. Just give me a key. Let's see, F. Okay, I like doing F. Here we go. I'll Fly Away and F. We're going to do 3 verses and a chorus repeat. I'll Fly Away. All right, thanks for that request. That's a fun song. Ah, man. Yeah, you can definitely do it. Nothing that I'm playing is any complicated. Is not complicated at all. You can definitely do it. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I can play that song. Thank you so much for the nice words. I wanted to say that that particular playing style that you liked on YouTube, if you haven't listened to her already, there's a lady that that plays Southern gospel, and her name's Tracy Phillips. And she's the piano player in tons of recordings of Southern gospel music. Just type in Tracy Phillips piano. She is a friend of mine. I've met her before in Alabama at some of the hymn sings. And just I get a lot of my playing style from her. So listen to some of her stuff. Listen to a lot of her stuff. That's what I did, and that's how I picked that style up. Yeah. Let's see here. Are you washed in the blood? All right. I'm gonna do yes sir, Tracy Phillips. Yep. She is incredible. She gives lessons too. I give lessons also, but she's been doing it way longer than me. She's so awesome. All right. There's Are you washed in the blood? Here we go. I'm gonna do the key of A flat. Oh, one sec. I got some sweat in my eye. I get quite a workout from doing that. Uh, Up here in northern Michigan, I don't know where any of you guys are from. Maybe it's hotter where you're at, but even in northern Michigan right now, it's hot. It's pretty hot. So here we go. Thank you. How long have I been playing? I've been playing for about 6.5 years. I'm self-taught. I've never taken any piano lessons. Well, I do lie, okay? People ask me that, and I don't always mention this. It was really small, but the only time I ever had a piano lesson per se was one time I had a friend, a piano teacher, and this was back when I first started. And it took a while for me with this. This one was kind of hard for me, you know. But I remember she told me how you're supposed to hold your wrists and how your fingers are supposed to be curved. And in the beginning, it took me a while to realize why that's important. I'm the type of person I learned through trial and error, and sometimes that somebody just tells me you should do something this way, my brain kind of goes, well, I'm gonna try it my way, and if that doesn't work for me, then I'll try it that way. I can be stubborn, but I've had something small like that, but I don't watch YouTube tutorials or nothing. I listen to a song, I listen to a piano player, and I pick up their style just by listening to it. And so, that is what I do. Let's see. Life is a mountain railway. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That song officially is named "Life's Railway to Heaven." That's the official name. Actually, I want to show you. I got a bunch of hymnals on the old piano here, and I got this one. Maybe you've seen it before. Country Western hymnal. It came from my great grandpa, and it has all types of just awesome songs in it. That's one of those songs. So let's do it. Here we go. All right, I had to remember how it goes for a second. I'm ready now. Hey, thank you for the compliment on the old piano. It doesn't get a lot of compliments, but I agree. Something about it being out of tune just kind of gives it that a special effect. Um, my favorite country gospel song to play. Well, just for the sake of parameters, because see, in my mind, when it comes down to it, what technically is country gospel and southern and convention style, like all that stuff, some of it kind of falls together. But um just for the sake of this, I'm gonna say, so there's a song in this hymnal that listening to it to this day gets tears in my eyes sometimes. I'll tell you a special story about this song. I have an interesting family tree like some people do. You know, with me, it wasn't just a mom and a dad. You know, my mom passed when I was 4 years old. I never knew my dad, and my grandparents raised me. And I also had my great grandparents until I was 17. I'm in my 20s now. But so, anyways, I grew up with my great grandpa, and he was a lover of the old time type of music, the hymns. He was never into the praise and worship stuff. He loved the old hymns and just got me a love for those. And this hymn was always his favorite. I just started loving it because he did, you know, whenever I would come over and we had those times spent together that I really miss. And I know, I bet a lot of you, I'm sure you guys have a relative that's not around anymore that you miss, or, you know, something like that. And you got music that reminds you of them. And he always asked me to play this song. And I know you're thinking, what song is it? And I'll get to that in a second. But I remember when I was just like 13 or 14. I remember being at church one Sunday, and the song Mansion Over the Hilltop, that's the song. That it came up on the big board, and they're like, we're gonna do Mansion Over the Hilltop, and I just remember the joy I felt in that moment just singing that song. It's just that song is so special to me. So here's Mansion Over the Hilltop. Thank you, thank you. I see that request. It's called "He Came to Me." So I don't know that song, but and I'll even prove it to you. I'm gonna have a list right here, and I'm gonna write down these songs that I don't know because I'm always looking to listen to new songs. So, well, here we go. He Came to Me. I'll give that song a listen, and I'll play it on my next live. Okay. Whoops. Alrighty. So you can see I got that song on my list. So I'll put that list just right over here, and so work on that. All right. Let's there we go. I got a new one. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Have a little talk with Jesus. I think you're thinking of Just a Little Talk with Jesus, right? Just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. I once was lost in sin, but now, man, it's been too long. See, I play these songs, but I don't listen to the words all the time. So I should I should know, but I know I'm pretty sure in this book it's 392 or something like that. Anyways, here we go. Just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. All right, I did it a little Pentecostal there. Now let's speed it up. Just a little talk with Jesus, not about your troubles. Woohoo! Oh man. Thank you for that request. That's one of those songs I get right into. It's in my top 10 of my favorite Southern gospel songs of all time. Thank you. Oh, um, man, I really appreciate everyone's nice comments. Philip and Alex and Abigail and everybody, just thank you for the kind words. Um, and I love the requests too. Man, I'm out of breath. You can tell. uh, I'm almost half tempted to. Well, for tonight, I'll do the piano. Um, but tomorrow or the next time I live stream, I'll get the keyboard set up, and I'll tell you something that maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't noticed yet, but this piano, the sustain pedal does not work. Only the middle pedal, which sustains, if y'all are piano players, the low A to this E that sustains, but the rest of this, like the sustain pedal is broken. So with this piano, I kind of eschew, I kind of stay away from playing slow music. I mean, I can, and I do sometimes, but this is more for fast music, really, because like I said, if you play piano, you know that when you don't have a sustain pedal, you kind of just got to play more fast music, but we can make it work. So let's see. I see I'm winging my way back home. Yep, I can do that. I can do that. And let's see here. Gloryland Way. Oh, I love the Gloryland Way. Let's do both. Do Winging My Way Back Home and go into Gloryland Way. All right. Now the Gloryland Way. How fun, how fun. Okay, This World Is Not My Home, I can do that one. The Royal Telephone. That is another one that I need to put on my list. Now, I do apologize. Some people ask me to, but I'm not one to sight read on camera. I kind of have a different process. Like I said, I kind of listen to the song and then I'll look at the music and do all that. So, um, put that on the list for next time. Um, yeah, I have some classical in there too. This World Is Not My Home. Wow, Germany, that's cool. I didn't think I had anyone listening from that far away. You said it's 6 a.m. there. Let's see where I'm at. Well, good thing I got a computer right here. It is 12:16 a.m. where I'm at. So it's just after midnight where I'm at. Yep. All right. Here we go. And by the way, I just wanted to say this. I have OCD. I don't know if any of you guys do. I don't know if you know how OCD brains are, but I constantly have all types of thoughts popping in my head at all different times and all types of random times. And when people say the song "This World Is Not My Home Anymore," um, the first thing I think about is Jim Reeves. The singer Jim Reeves does a beautiful cover of that song. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. If y'all haven't listened to that, later, tomorrow, whatever, look up Jim Reeves. This World Is Not My Home. It's just so nice. And there's another song he does, and I'll get into that in a bit. So let's see. He keeps me singing. Oh man, that is so fun. Yeah, a little bit of can in there. Yeah. Uh I love that. Um okay, so um like I said, ADHD. Sometimes I got to stop and think how I'm going to say what I want to say. Okay, so the song he keeps me singing, that reminds me of when I first started to play piano. There's a YouTube channel that helped me learn. Like I said, I never watched instructional videos. I just listened to them. And so this is one of those channels where it's piano in the background. It's piano playing a hymn, and then it's a blue screen, and then you got the words um, and then you got the lyrics of the hymn. The channel is called Mr. Maverick Mom. Okay, Maverick, Mr. Maverick Mom. Type in that channel, and if you see like hymn names and it's a blue screen, click on those. That's like one of the first channels I started listening to when I got into piano. It's just nice. It's like old time. Yep, that's the one. It's just like old time. It's not too complicated. It's really nice. It's just nice classic hymn playing. But how I learned, cuz like with that channel, the order, at least how I remembered the playlist, um this playlist might not even exist anymore, but it was like I'm resolved, he lives, leaning on the everlasting arms, just as I am, he keeps me singing. Like those are the hymns I when I first started learning the piano, that was like the group of hymns I started on. So that just brought back that memory. So check out that channel. I enjoy that one a lot. Mansion Over the Hilltop. That channel has a beautiful rendition of Mansion Over the Hilltop. So definitely listen to that. You'll love it. Yep. Okay. So let's do Love Lifted Me, and then let's do He Lives. And then let me share something else, okay? I'll get into this after the song. I can ramble for hours. I mean, listen, I can go all night. I got nothing to do. Well, I do got a doctor appointment tomorrow, actually, a checkup, but that's not till I don't got to be up till like 11, so I got some time. But um, there's two I love. No, there's two Love Lifted Me's that I know. There's the normal Love Lifted Me that I'm gonna play, the normal hymn. But then in the Southern gospel world, specifically the convention gospel world, more specifically the Alabama School of Gospel Music, they have a video on YouTube. I'll tell you what the channel you can find it on in a second is. But they have a version of Love Lifted. Well, it's not a version, it's a totally different song, but just with the name Love Lifted Me. If you type in the name Clark Haggy, so Clark Clark Haggy, Clark Haggy, if that's how you pronounce his last name, he posts a tons of different Southern gospel videos. And what you do is you type in Clark Hagee, like I spelled. Yup. And then you got to type in this exact thing for it to come up. And I'll tell you just what it looks like. It'd be Clark Hagee. Then ASGM, that stands for Alabama School of Gospel Music, but type in ASGM, then type in the year 2014, then type in Love Lifted Me. Type that in and you'll see a video. You should. It's a white video. It says 2014, just 2014 on the video, and then it says Love Lifted Me. That's a totally different Love Lifted Me, and that reminds me of that. So check that out. That's a fun one. See, I got into hymns by teaching myself the 5-string. Oh, that's cool. Yep, ASGM 20. Yeah. Yeah. Take a listen to that sometime. You'll like it. It's not like Love Lifted Me that I'm gonna play. It's like upbeat. I'll play it if I can remember it. But all right, here's the 2 songs I said I was gonna do. Here we go. Oh, thank you so much again. So I at times it's been a while, but I used to play very often, like every weekend, at a pizza restaurant, and I would play like the I would play harder than this for 5 hours with no breaks. I would play 5 hours straight. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't have something to eat till the end. I wouldn't stop till the end. I would just go 5 hours. And even then, I was still ready to keep going. I have a lot of energy. This is nothing. I mean, I could do this for 10 more hours. I mean, this is like, you know, my favorite, one of my favorite things to do. I have a list of favorite things to do. But yeah, I'm ready to, I can keep going. Let's see. Here I am, Lord. Yeah, that's a beautiful song. I don't have a sustain pedal, but I will do my best. I'll do my best to do that slower song on this piano without the sustain pedal. when we all get to heaven. All right. All right. Ooh, brighten the corner where you are. That is such an awesome request. Wow. Man, no, that is such an awesome request. That song, I haven't thought about that song in so long. That's a really pleasant request. That song, I always had fun with that song. Um, what I have to do, let's see. I'm trying to think if I remember how it goes. I remember the chorus. I'm gonna see if it's in a hymnal just so I can. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's not that one. How do the words start on that song? Maybe if, because the way my memory works, if you kind of give me like a verse, like the first few words of the first verse, that would I think I would remember how it goes then. Ugh. I know for a fact. I'm almost positive because the church I used to play at, they used the celebration hymnal, and I have the celebration hymnal, but it's upstairs, and I'm pretty sure it's in there, but might be in here. Here we go. Okay. All right. Man, it doesn't seem to be in any of these. Um. Give me 1 second. My lovely fans, wait just a moment for me. I'm gonna look something up. Okay. I'm pulling up the sheet music for it really quick. Yep, right here. All right. I just gotta get it in my fingers again. It's been a long time. Oh, perfect. Um. All right. Yeah. Thank you for that request. That is great. All right. Well, I'm going to I don't know if you meant hit literally. Uh well, I'm going to be hitting the hay here, and but I'm going to play one final song, so if any of y'all want to stick around for the last song before I turn in for the night. But yeah, for sure, man. Just hit me up. I'm on Facebook, David W. Smith. That's what I come up as. So if you have Facebook, check out my stuff on there. Hit me up on there. Um, I'm gonna play my favorite Southern gospel hymn. It's called Heaven's Jubilee. I'm sure y'all know this song. I can't believe no one's requested it yet. Sometimes it gets forgotten about, but this song is a ton of fun. Uh, so Heaven's Jubilee. Actually, let's get the lights right for this. I like blue for this one. Ha Alrighty. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me play, and I'll see if I can't come on tomorrow night and have the keyboard this time so I can do more of a mix of songs. So, thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great night. God bless.